Okay. Welcome, everyone. Looks like we're all present and accounted for, and I am reconvening the meeting from closed session. And in closed session this afternoon, by unanimous vote, the board took formal action to accept the resignation of employee number 00382068, effective at the end of the 2018-2019 academic year. Additionally, in closed session this afternoon, by unanimous vote, the board took formal action confirming employee number 00133542 for continued employment with the district as a probationary classified employee pursuant to Education Code Section 88022. All right. Could I ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? And I will be happy to lead that today. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so moving on. Public comment part. Per Board Policy 2350, any person may address the board at this time either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, with a maximum time of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. So with that, do we have any public comments today concerning items that are on the agenda? Do we have any public comments concerning items that are not on the agenda?
I have one. I just wanted
Mr.
to
Lamar.
invite everybody this Friday to the opening of our spring musical, Evita, Andrew Lloyd Webber's famous 1979 musical about Eva Peron. So we open this weekend and we'll have next weekend 7 performances. So I'd love to have everybody come.
Who's that guy sitting next to you?
Oh, I just,
He says he knows me, but I'm trying to figure him out.
I would like to, speaking of that, I see a smiling face back there. Former board member, now Tennessee volunteer, Earl Mann has joined us. Good to see you, Earl. All right, moving on. Apparently, we will not have a student trustee report today. Our student is not able to. Yes, we do. I apologize, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. Yeah, please come to the podium.
This is Jesus. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, my name is Jesus Reyes. I'm the Commissioner of Finance. I am stepping in for Antonio while he is gone. As part of our student trustee report, so far all that I have to report is on Valentine's Day, we did sell Valentine's gift, stuffed animals to students. The goal was not to make any profit of it. We sold these originally for $15 without the students, the benefit sticker, and $10. So we did this event as a way to show students that they actually receive benefits per the sticker that they purchased in the beginning of the year. We also did Valentine's cards and gifts for Crimson and Kuya Delta Children's Hospital. I'm not too certain if those were actually delivered. We are actually having a trip up to Kuya next week, I believe, on the 23rd. We also have the St. Patrick's Day event coming up on March 14th, and we will be making sure clubs are setting up their recruiting and also fundraising. Also to announce is we also have our spring elections. They will actually be held a little bit earlier this year. They will be running online from April 22nd to 26th. Applications and petition forms are available online or can be picked up by students at the Activities and Affairs office. We did make it to where students that are interested in running must at least have a 2.0 GPA and a 2.5 for the trustee and attain 25 student signatures. Also, as part of the Student Senate, we will be undergoing the STEPS program on March 12th to assist with the high school registration here at COS. And that's the end of my report.
Jesus, thank you for being with us today and for that report. And before you leave the podium, we may have some questions for you. Anybody?
I would just like to know, where did you go to school, and tell us just a few things about yourself.
I went to Golden West High School. Currently, this is my 4th semester here at COS. I was on the cheerleading team.
Okay.
I did my season had to end a little early because I do have plans that contradicted with the dance show, so I had to cut off a little bit early. And yeah, my major's still undecided here now. I'm getting a lot of my general education out of the way. And this is actually my first semester being involved in Student Senate, but I do want to continue.
Okay, good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jesus.
You're welcome.
You are welcome to stay, or you're free to leave. It's up to you. This could get
Hard
exciting.
decision.
All right. Starting with board member reports, Mr. Sherman?
Yeah, just give a little update on the President's Cup Golf Tournament. I think we're full. We've got all the teams we need, 24 teams. I think we've got 2 or 3 possible teams that will take, because they're major sponsors, but they haven't really, like Wells Fargo and some of those. So we'll make an exception to go further than the 24 teams. So, but it's going real well.
Thank you.
No report?
No report? Mr. Lane?
Nothing of significance.
Me neither.
Okay, so what I have is not of much significance either, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
There you go. That's a prerogative
So
of the
I
chair.
just have to, because it kind of deals with COS to a certain extent. So Saturday was just a great day for me. Started off at 8 o'clock in the morning with my 2 grandsons playing baseball, and they were on opposite teams, so that part of it. But then after that, I traveled to Fresno for the Fresno State, San Jose State basketball game, and it was a complete trouncing. My condolences to Athletic Director Brent Davis for that. But then after that, I rushed back to Tulare and Visalia to attend the ladies' basketball game, which was at 7 o'clock. But before I did that, I had to drop off my companion in Tulare, so I Fresno to Tulare back to Visalia, watched what was just an outstanding basketball game. And for those of you who didn't see it, those girls were totally amazing in defeating City College of San Francisco. And then went home and caught the end of the men's basketball game online at about 9 o'clock, where I ate a nice dinner. So so that was a complete day of basketball, and it was and it was great. And so good luck to the 2, and I hope I'm not taking anything out of your report.
Oh, hey, too late for that, Nunes.
But I just
Between
both
the Vita and the basketball, I'm done.
so both the men's team and the ladies' team are going to the state finals in Ventura this weekend, and best of luck to them.
That's exciting. That was a nice write-up in the paper, too, about our coach.
About Coach Smith?
Yep.
That's great.
Very nice.
Great.
President Nunes, if I may make a comment.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank former trustee Earl Manigan for joining us today. I got the opportunity to spend some time with him and learn about his experience here, but also what he's doing now, and I really appreciate that and some of the words of advice that he gave me. So I wanted to just publicly thank you for those comments.
Yeah, he was pretty friendly with you, Trustee Macarena, but when he sat up here, boy, you didn't want to, especially on construction overruns or change orders. He'd give you the business.
We'll remind you every now and then when you're not speaking up. I'll just kind of whisper quietly in your ear, "Don't forget about the colonies."
The colonies, yes, of course.
Had we known you were coming, Earl, we would have made sure to have some kind of change order on the agenda tonight, just to get your blood boiling a little.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Foster is
Been an enjoyable visit, so and even Brent. So it's nice to kind of be home, but Ken said from the volunteer state, I haven't done any of that yet, so I'm still hanging in there.
Nice to have you here, Earl.
Thank you for the warm welcome.
And you have a dinner tonight, so if he
Yeah.
gets up to leave, it's not because
So
he's
I
leaving in
need to
disgust.
say, It's not that you've done anything. I
Okay.
You don't have to stay.
All right, Mr. Foster.
Okay. I have a very brief report. I wanted to, I mentioned at our last meeting in February that we were going to have our second retiree brunch hosted by President Calvin, and we did have that, and we had 39 attend. I probably just stole another one of President Calvin's report. But we had 39 attendance, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of positivity, and our list keeps expanding with cross referrals and that type of thing, so we're really excited about that. Other than that, we are just at the foundation, we are keeping very busy getting ready for all of the events that you see on this card. I will be emailing you tomorrow, a follow-up email with all of these dates and an encouragement to reply to us which ones you would like to be in attendance, and we will make sure that you have a seat at a table if that's what it means. So we start off our season of CSF celebrations where we, in various communities, we establish a luncheon where the students that are in the high schools in that community that are receiving their lifetime membership to the California Scholarships Federation, we put on a luncheon. The program is simply the students going up on stage and saying, kind of introducing how our student senator introduced himself. I'm so and so. I'm doing this. I'm going off to this school, hoping to become this as a profession. And the parents love it. It's a great community event. It's not a moneymaker by any stretch, but it does pay for itself through some sponsorships and some ticket sales. So we're happy to do it. And we lead it off with Tulare on April 2nd. These are all 12 to 1 kind of engagements. But Tulare, April 2nd at the Tulare Veterans Memorial. Then we do Woodlake on Thursday, April 4th. We do Hanford, April 9th. And then we do Visalia April 29th. And then our big night where we get to celebrate the scholarship relationship between the donor and the recipient is on May 2nd at the Porter Fieldhouse from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And that's when we get to provide an opportunity for the donor or the donor representative to meet with the students that are receiving the scholarships that they are participating in. It's a really great event. We do have a program where some of those are presented on stage, but it is very much a representative group of the masses that are in there. We usually have about 450 people in attendance for that. And then I also wanted to highlight that we are going to have our first community event open to the public, which is the movie night at the COS Hanford Educational Center in our new student pavilion. So there is that amphitheater and stage area. We're going to be screening the Disney Pixar movie Coco, and in cooperation with the Hanford Parks and Recreation Department that does that at various parks in Hanford. We're doing it. We're starting off their season on that May 3rd event. So we're excited about that.
Good deal.
So
All
we'll
right,
be busy
very
doing
good.
that for a while.
Sounds like you're busy.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? All right, you're free to step down. All right, up next is Dr. Lacerna with the accreditation report.
Yes, there's still things going on with accreditation. This one is a statewide, or I guess region-wide thing. This is the most recent email from the ACCJC that Megan's passing down right now. This is just came in a few days ago, and it's an update from Richard Wynn from the ACCJC regarding the new way they are going to complete the comprehensive review process like we just went through. So for our next comprehensive review in 7 years, this is what we will be doing. And so you can see on the first page, these are improvements to the comprehensive review. And what they're going to be doing now is dividing this in that first bullet point, the visit, into two components: the team review of the report and then the focused site visit. And this team report review will occur 6 months prior to the focused site visit. And at that time, and so if you look at the first bullet, the first bullet, sorry, is the team will focus this review on any areas of concern, and they'll send us that information before a focused site visit. On the second bullet, you can see 6 months after that review, then the team will come out for the focused site visit. And at that time, they can look at any additional evidence and what they're calling core inquiries. So these core inquiries are any questions they have after the report. And then the third bullet, they will, after the visit, submit their final report to the commission. If you look on the second page, they're looking in the middle there, you can kind of see how it's now going to move, that kind of upside down pyramid there. They'll start with the team ISER review, then move into the core inquiries, the focus site visit, the draft team report. Then we have an opportunity for errors of fact, a final team report, and a commission action. So these are, you can kind of read through this document at your leisure, which I'm sure you would love to do, but they basically just are switching around the way they do things. So we'll hear back from the team after reviewing the report, and then they'll come out to do the visit, and we'll have a chance to answer any questions. So the visit itself will be more focused on any questions or things they have remaining, core inquiries after that report is read. In addition, anyone who started a report after ours, 442-page report, they're now narrowing them down to about 150 pages for that comprehensive report. So we're looking forward to our shortened version next time around.
So are you, then gathering from just the tone of your voice, do you think this is a good process then? After having gone through it on different levels of all sorts,
Yeah.
you think this is refining the process to be
I think
beneficial?
so, and what they talk about is if you look right above that upside down pyramid, those bullets, they talk about the reason for doing this is to eliminate any element of fear or surprise in the visit. And so that's their first reason for doing this, is because they would show up and you have no idea what they're going to be looking for. Now, 6 months in advance, they say, here's some things we're going to ask about, and you have time to get that information together.
Figure out before company comes.
Yeah, and to kind of move it back toward, in bullet 2, ability to foster and guide institutional improvement. And then, so yeah, I think that that's a good thing.
Okay.
So it looks like they're going to have the ISER, is that the self-study report?
That's
6
the-
months ahead of time?
Yep.
Is that a longer, before, when did we give them the report?
We normally gave it to them, we were required to give it to them 60 days in advance of the visit. And so we usually, like mid-July, and then
Right, so
we
this
sent
is
ours
quite a
way
bit-
early in
quite a
June.
bit,
Yeah,
longer time frame.
yep.
Anybody else?
So formally, the next time we will see them is 6.5 years?
Yes,
Roughly.
it's 7 years. So 7 years from the October visit.
Right.
Yep.
But it's.
So six
well,
and a
we wouldn't
half.
see them, but we'll hear from them 6 months prior to that, and then we get the.
Yes, so our next report we have an annual report that's due every single year. We're working on that now. It's just an update on mostly data. They changed that again and shortened that, so it's really just looking at information on our student enrollment, our student success, and our goals for success. And actually, they used to have us report out on student learning outcomes. They've taken that out of the report. So it's really just kind of an update on data, and we can share that with you. We normally don't bring that report to the board because it's just kind of a general report that we do, but we will bring that to you. And then we will do a midterm report in 3.5 years. And so that report updates them on the plans of action that we had in our ISER, we call it, the self-evaluation report. So we had plans of action in there, and then we had 2 quality focus goals in there. So at that midterm report, we'll report back on all of that. That's just a written report that goes to the commission, and then the next time we would see them would be in 6.5 years.
Can they change that report in that 6.5 years of what they want you to do? Or?
Procedure? Yeah, they're changing it now, so let's see, once they roll this out, maybe they're gonna change it again, but, for now, this is what they're going with, so who knows what can happen in the next 6.5 years, but they're really going with the leadership they have in there now, they're going streamlined, shorter, and more responsive to the colleges, so if they keep with that trend, that will be a very good thing.
One last
Yeah.
quick question. The process for the annual and then the midterm, is that similar in terms of the development, or is it strictly a report out of?
Yeah, so the annual report is really simple. It's fill in the boxes. It's a lot of stuff that Dr. Ozturk's office provides on, what's our student enrollment, what's our student success rate. We have these institutional set standards, which is what Dr. Ozturk and then Superintendent Calvin presented a couple of them, I think in October they presented that data to you. And so we really it's like fill in the blanks reporting on the number of distance education classes we have and things like that. And so we report that out. It's kind of rote that we do once a year. And then the midterm report is it used to be a little more work, but now they have it where it's a fill in the blank also, and it'll be reporting out on each of those actions that we have in our current report. So, but that will be a little more, probably a 6-month preparation time, and we'll bring all those drafts will go through the governance process and come to the board on the midterm one.
Okay, anybody else? Very good.
Thank
Good news.
you.
Good news,
Yeah.
we think. Okay, up next is our superintendent president's report, if he has anything left.
Not much. Earl, welcome. Great to have you here. The two basketball teams were both fabulous on Friday night. I had a function in Sacramento on Sunday, so I was actually in Stockton Saturday night while you were here, and the men were just as impressive as our women here at home. Really impressed with both teams. They'll be in Ventura. Men play on Thursday at 1, women Friday at 7, and if either or both of them win, they'll be moving on to semis on Saturday, finals on Friday. A reminder to all of our board members that we gave you the high school district board meeting dates, where I'll be sharing updates on COS as well as updates on COS students formerly from those feeder high schools. Ken and I were at Tulare Joint Union High School District last Thursday, had a great visit with them. I'll be in Corcoran tomorrow night, and I'll be in Woodlake on Wednesday night. If you care to join me, and again, just shoot me an email if you'd like to join me, or drive out together, or just show up, whatever. They're a lot of fun, and I really am happy that we do that as a district. It's not the usual thing, I guess, for community college districts to go out and present to feeder high schools, but we've been doing it for several years now, and those boards seem to really enjoy it.
Can I interrupt right
Sure.
there real quick and just ask you two things? So with that, I did hear from a board member in Tulare, just so you know, that it sounded like they were really looking forward to us meeting again. So hopefully we can at
Oh.
least send them the invitation again. They want to make it happen.
Oh, great.
The board members do. So if that doesn't get through, then if you can just let Ken and I know, and
Sure,
we'll.
the joint board meeting where our
Yes.
boards all come together.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. And even if it's just the high school. if
And not the city?
I
Yeah.
guess it would, I'll let you make that call.
Yeah, leave the city out.
Leave the city out, if you,
We can-
whatever you
we
dare.
can reach
That's not- that's not on record.
And that's your prerogative.
We can reach out to them and see when they'd like to set something up. That'd be
Okay,
great.
and then typically I missed the Tulare one, and I couldn't be there, but Stan would send us the backup data that you get from the high schools and what's going on there, because
Oh,
it's good to
fabulous.
have, so if you could
I'll-
send that,
I'll do
I know
that.
I'd like to look at it.
Okay.
Yep.
Very
I don't know
good.
if Ken wants it, but I'd like to
Ken
look at
got it that night. We had a
Okay,
hard copy, but
perfect. Okay,
I can certainly send it
okay.
via email as well. Just to piggyback on what Mr. Lamar said, Avita is coming up. There's 6, 7 dates.
Yeah.
I'll be there
And
Friday.
if you'd like to go,
I've got tickets.
just, if you've already got your tickets, great, but if not, you can email Nick Terry or Steve Lamar. Because Steve's a short timer, I'd probably recommend Nick. He still checks his email. But certainly for you and a guest, we'll comp the tickets with that. So please join us for that. A couple other dates to, this is very handy, thank you, Tim. A couple other dates to add to this. We're just finalizing the plans to have Chancellor Eloy Oakley on campus April 10th. That's a Wednesday. He's calling it part of his listening tour. And after some of the news we got this week, he's probably going to be doing a lot of listening this spring to folks. But on April 10th, we're looking forward to hosting the Chancellor and spending a day with him. He'll be on campus from noon until 6 or 7, and it kind of culminates in a town hall meeting at either 5 or 6, and I forget what the proposed agenda is. The rest of the day, they'll be meeting with administrators, faculty, staff, and students, and we'll just kind of schedule that out. I'll give you some more information, but I'd love to have some board members there as well to meet the Chancellor.
What time would you want us, or which part of this?
Maybe for the lunch, maybe for the
Okay.
12 to 1,
Okay.
and/or the town hall at 5 or 6, whatever it is, and I'm not sure, but 5, Megan says she thinks it's 5. But once we formalize that, we haven't even
Yeah.
confirmed
Keep
everything
us,
with him.
informed
We'll
with
keep you
that.
informed. And then the other date to just jot down on here, I gave it to you last time, but it is a dinner that we're doing in conjunction with Fresno State at the Hanford Center in the pavilion for Dr. Castro. He held one here in Visalia at Tulare County Office of Ed in the fall. It's just his way of getting out to Valley communities and talking about the good things that are happening, not only at Fresno State's Fresno campus, but also the things that are happening here in the joint project we have here at the Visalia Center. So that'll be April 30th, dinner in the pavilion. And we'll have more information coming out on that as well. I just want to make sure that every time we give you dates, we're trying to give you 2 months out. So that was the one I saw in here that wasn't listed. And then finally, last board meeting, we started this new process of introducing a student, most often a President Scholar. And tonight it's my privilege to invite Micah Ruiz to the podium. He's going to share a little bit about his experience here at the College of the Sequoias and what his plans are for the future. Thanks for being here, Micah.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hi, my name is Micah Reese, and I am a sophomore here at COS. I'm studying business administration, and I'm a graduate from Tulare Union High School. And so my plan for next year is to attend Fresno State University and pursue a business degree in entrepreneurship. They don't have it here, but I'm doing administration here, but I'm going to do entrepreneurship over there. And so my plan is to eventually ultimately own a business in the automotive industry as a profession. And the reason for that is I grew up around my dad, and he was just really into cars, and he got me into doing anywhere from regular maintenance and all the way up to like performance modifications. And so I thought I would combine the knowledge I would know as a business owner with my passion for cars as an enthusiast and just kind of create something special like that. And I just want to continue to thank the board for their support in the President Scholars program, and has really helped me to broaden my perspective on how important education is and how getting involved with the community can really bring positive change to not just only the community but people around them too. And just from the meetings that we have with President Calvin and Ms. Tiers and the faculty members and community members that come and just give us really insightful and helpful information that I know I can use going into Fresno and then into my career after that. I'm just really thankful and appreciate that a lot. So thank you for having me tonight and for your time, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions, comments, anybody?
I have a question.
Okay.
What's been your biggest highlight so far of the President Scholars Program?
I would just say getting to really know people rather than just, going day-to-day classes, just, knowing classmates and everything like that, but really getting to know people as a, President Scholar to President Scholar, and then just being able to, talk with the president and just know him, and not only as like somebody I can really look up to, but as a friend as well. I miss tears and just really connecting with people in the community in just a way I never had before in high school.
Good. Well, we all look up to him.
Yeah, that's,
Just
In more ways than one.
a thought or an observation as you're looking forward, moving into your own business, certainly keep in mind electric vehicle repair, because that's something there's not going to be enough of. And you're going to hit it right about that time, so
Yeah.
keep it in mind.
Thank you. Yeah.
all right, well, thank you, and
Thank you for being
thank
here.
you for
Thank you,
taking
Michael.
time
We're lucky to have you.
to be here, and I think you're going to do real well at the Craig School of Business.
Thank you.
Good job, Mike.
Good luck.
So you have to know a little more than how to plug it in.
Yeah, unless you want to fry.
Thanks, Micah. That is the conclusion of my report.
Okay, very good. So we are going to move on to reports, and first on the list is the Academic Senate President's Report Update. I don't see Mr. Turner here, and I don't suppose you're going to give the Senate report, so how did I
I was going to resist.
Okay. Costa President's Update, and we have Tracy here filling in for Mr. Hurst,
Yes, he had a little bit of a car problems.
David.
So I'm Tracy Redden. I'm the vice president. I thought I'd step in. He said I didn't have to talk, but I thought, kicking off negotiations would be a good idea. So I'd also like to welcome the 2 new board members. This is my first night here since you've been here. I actually I'm taking a pottery class, which I'm really excited. I'm missing it tonight to be here, so I thought it was worth it. I'm enjoying it. I'm not very good, but it's fun. So I just did throw this together, so hopefully, it makes sense. So to start off with, we have a new funding formula, and a percentage of it will come from our students' transfer and success. So we do want to make sure we want to hire the best and keep them. So also, it's students centered. We want to make sure that our areas to support them are kept up. Our math lab, our writing center are all important for student success, and our MESA. Right now, our MESA has gone through some changes. It used to have a faculty advisor, and then it had a full-time director, and now it's 3 wonderful part-time people were running it, and we're open till 9. The students, for the STEM program, it's very valuable. But they're all 3 going to be gone next semester. But so again, that's just something that we want to make sure we keep what we have. Now, also, I want to talk about the value of teachers. Teachers work hard. We've worked on accreditation. AB 705, that's been a huge job for us. There's no prerequisites in math and English now, and that doesn't, our division chairs there worked really hard last year getting us up to par with that. But that has other effects in other divisions too. Any class that has any prerequisite for math and English in their class, it's going to affect them. Econ, science, physics, just lots of classes it's going to affect that they're going to have to change. We have large class sizes, 40 in each. That's I know we have extra pay for that and everything, but my calculus class, it's in physics. My stack of pile of grading is this big, and so that's going to take me a week to grade. And it's a large classes and grading, prepping. I'm up. Lots of us put lots of time in. Committee works too. We have our value. So also, I'd like to talk about why I think we're still undervalued. I think we have made some progress the last few years, which I'm happy about. But pay. Just in general. I'm math, and I have a brother that has the similar degree to me, and he makes double in industry, double to me. I know. I made the choice. I love my students, but we don't make as much as industry. When I was hired 23 years ago, we used to be the top 10 for many years out of all the community colleges. We've slipped some, and again, we were down to 70 at one point. We're making progress. We're coming back. Part-time, overload pay, they're the same. It's dismal, 1/3 of our pay, for overtime or for the adjunct part-timers. Health benefits, we have a good benefit package, but it does eat away at our paycheck every year that it goes up, because the cost does go up every year. We have a good pension. It's good, but we also know we've had to chip away at our paycheck, paying that to make sure that it's still there when we retire. Sabbaticals, yes, I'm happy they're back. I'm very ecstatic that they're back, but they're not where they used to be. So with new board members, a huge reserve, over 30%. I'm really looking forward to these negotiations and, finding out what our value is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so up next is CSEA report, and
No report?
no report. Okay. COSAFA today.
Dr. Erickson has class on Monday night, and she said that tonight she couldn't leave them tonight.
Okay. All right, so we are moving on to information items on the agenda, and now we're going to get Dr. Trimble up here, and she is going to give us the report on the 2018 evaluation of institutional program review, and I'm sure we've gone through some changes there.
Yes, we have.
It's a lot smaller.
Yes, I know. Good evening. As a part of our governance process, every year all of the standing committees do an evaluation, and Institutional Program Review Committee is no different. We have a couple of different things that we do, and then we come to the board to give this presentation on what our findings of our evaluation were. So we're going to start first with what we said we were going to do this last year. So this is actually the last slide that I presented last year. So last year we said we were going to change and move some more training into the fall to help with the demand. People didn't really want to start working on program review in the spring. Go figure. The other changes, we made some changes to the data metrics that are in program review. We were going to add efficiency, change enrollment to FTES. We were only going to include the top 5 enrolled courses within a department, within a unit. And also we were going to have links to additional data. We were going to complete our Canvas course. We had started tape recording and producing PowerPoint presentations for all of our trainings that we have on the different aspects of program review. We were going to finish those and put them up and available to everyone on campus. We needed to modify some of the TrackDat prompts within our module, and then modify the manual because of the reflected changes to the prompts. So what did we do? We had we had 5 trainings in the fall, which was a net gain of 2. We got the data metric changes approved through the governance process by the Academic Senate and District Governance Senate. So we added efficiency, we changed enrollment, which was a head count, to FTES. It allows for a better comparison across departments. We added new links to additional data, which I'll cover in a minute. And we completed the training modules and updated them to reflect the changes in the prompts and the data. We changed the prompts. We thought they were more clear, but was it entirely the case? We updated the manual to reflect those changes. So we basically accomplished all of our action plans for the year. So as a part of our process, we've always presented the units with data. And this last year, the district is now using a product called Tableau to house the data. And it provides the units with a tremendous increase in the amount of data that they can access. And they can access it directly from program review. We modified our training as well as our PowerPoints to reflect how they can access the data. And all the data that's uploaded into every unit is success,
productivity, FTES, and FTEF. But also only the top 5 enrolled courses for that particular department, and then 3 years of that data. So that is automatically in the module. All they have to do is click on it, it's there. But with Tableau, they can go further through the link with Tableau to access all their courses. And they can disaggregate their data. So they can look at, is there a difference in success for campus, for the different campuses? Is there a gender difference, race, ethnicity difference, an instructional mode? So all of their data for all of their classes is available, plus they can disaggregate it for those. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a presentation of Tableau, just so you get an idea of what it's like, because it is really, truly awesome. What does that say? Cannot download. Oh, Dolly.
Oh, Dolly, she says.
Maybe it'll go. It's thinking.
It's trying to, huh?
Little hamster's running. Oh, man. So that was the, so Dolly, do you think you could call it up in a hurry?
Well, you can just copy the URL and paste it in the browser, it should bring it.
Thanks.
Is that all?
Cool.
You're
Yeah,
on,
really.
Megan.
Yeah,
Okay.
easy for him to say.
Yeah.
Maybe that I'll go.
It just went to the next screen.
She
Yeah,
is,
you're gonna have to, oh, sorry, you're gonna have to minimize it. Yeah.
Keep talking, Thea. Give me.
While that's happening,
Yeah.
what is the last F in FTEF?
Full-time equivalent faculty.
Faculty.
Yeah, full-time equivalent faculty. So they know, again, since we're producing the productivity, they need to know the full-time equivalent faculty, so it gives them another data point to look at. And it's especially what we were trying to do is make the data set more in line with what instructional council uses as for what when they request faculty for hire. This really isn't a waste of time. This is so
No,
cool.
this is,
And by the way, while we're waiting, does anybody have a department you want to look at? Because we can look at any department you'd like.
Yeah, look at somebody who's here.
How about math?
Okay. Thing is, when I tried this in my office, it worked fine.
I really like the idea of comparing on an FTES basis. I mean, it makes total sense when you see it.
Right.
It's like, well, you know, that probably wasn't a hard sell.
Right, so it doesn't matter then if you have a lab class versus a
Right.
lecture class. It's
Yeah.
all calculated the same.
That's good.
So if you,
You can take it from here, or would you like me to?
I can do it. So this is the standard data. And by default, when you go into Tableau, it goes by alphabet.
Thank you.
So it always comes up with accounting, because accounting is, in the alphabet, the first one up.
Well, that's the best
Yeah,
one.
that's right.
Yeah. So again, what you see at the top is for all accounting classes. So this is success, that's productivity for all accounting classes. Then you have the 5 top enrolled courses. So if we go down to the bottom, now I lost the arrow. Anybody see it?
I think there's another one in there.
Did
Oh,
we
did
pick
we
up
get
the wrong one?
I think we did.
Oh.
We got too many nice.
We're
There
tech
we go.
experts around
I
here.
know.
Infestation.
This is just seamless, isn't it?
That's good.
Okay, now we get it. So if we just scroll down, I can't do that left-handed. So again, FTES, FTEF, and then I want to point out here down at the bottom, because in addition to Tableau, they have access, this will give them direct access to all of Tableau. They have direct access to our fact book. This is a link to the Chancellor's Data Mart, so they can compare with their departments across the, they can either pick local colleges or they can look across the whole state, and we've included how to do that in our training. And then if they want additional data from the office, that's their data request. So if we go back up,
And who has access to this?
everybody.
Like
Everybody
public?
who goes into program review, they have access to.
On campus.
Yes, everybody on campus that has access to program review. So that's our standard data, and then up here, again, that's the overall, then they can sort out success, FTES, FTEF, and productivity. So let's go to math. Okay, doesn't want to let me go down. Okay. Oh, too far. Okay, my eyes aren't that good. Look at this way.
Better than mine.
There we go.
Right
Math.
there, yeah.
Okay, so it's going to load it up. So their top enrolled courses are here. So 21, 154, 200, and 230. So that's great, but you know what? I want to know what is happening in calculus. And calculus isn't going to be their top enrolled. So I'm in the math department. Okay, I can't find the scroll to the side here.
Getting close.
So
Is there a scroll? Oh, I can't
yeah,
see
so what
it.
we're going to do is we're going to go to the success dashboard,
I don't see the,
and then we got to change it back to math. Well, except for I changed it to somebody else.
Okay.
Who did I change it to?
Accounting.
Back to account, you know, it's,
Is it still accounting? No, it's just, okay, that's,
yeah.
I don't even know who that is. Let's, okay, art, let's just go with art. So there's art, and then see how you have courses here? Again, I can't get it, so they could call up any other course, but see how this is disaggregated for their success rate at the campuses. You can take that same data, and I want to know race and ethnicity success. So it gives you the department total across the top, and then you can compare the department total to this particular, each race. How are they doing overall? So this is really going to help our people get into looking at the disproportionately impacted groups. That data is going to be at their fingertips. It really has a lot of potential going forward as we go into the training. Okay, so now we got to get out of here.
Do you want your PowerPoint back?
There we go. Back. So we're really quite excited about that and the possibilities that it provides for the units. As we evaluate our processes, we have two basic evaluations. One is that we survey everyone on campus, or everyone in the district, and that's our program review survey. So we complete it after program reviews are due, and it provides a user perspective. This year we had 175 responses. That's slightly up from last year. And about the same percentage breakdown of administrators, full-time, adjunct, and classified completed the survey. These are our findings this year. So the first set of bars, the program review was easy to follow. That actually was an increase. It was 84% this year. It was 76% last year. So we're getting better. Our training is helping. There was a decrease in the program review process, required little effort to complete, partly because the prompts changes, but we think also it could be that the difference in the data. They couldn't just roll things over. Now they had to go back in and really look at the data. But the one we're the most proud of is the last one. The program review process was beneficial to my program. 94% of the respondents said that the program review was of benefit to their program. So those of you who have been on the board for a while know we have come a long way in program review. From where people were fighting it, didn't want to do it, it was horrible, nasty, it was a bad word to the vast majority of
They like
people.
it.
Yes. And it was not even so much they like it, but they think it's of value. So if it's going to be a work,
They like the results.
they like the results. For each area of the program review, we have them rank whether or not they think it's easy to complete or not. Most of them held mostly steady or dropped a little bit. Again, we think that this might be because of the new data. It requires more effort to do the analysis, so it's going to make it a little harder for them to complete those sections. Next one is if you had more than one person, how was the workload distributed? Very fairly actually increased from last year, from 10 to 18. Fairly decreased, and unfairly increased. So we think that what happened is from the fairly, it kind of went a little bit each way. Some to very fairly and some to unfairly. Not a lot, about 4% increase in unfairly. Very unfairly didn't change at all. So that's a good thing. Was the instruction manual helpful? Again, very helpful. That increased. The percentage who thought it was very helpful, somewhat helpful dropped, but that's because they all went to very helpful, because slightly helpful didn't change. So that's a good thing. That's a good change. Also, during the survey, we asked them about the training sessions. So we have training sessions in the spring, training sessions in the fall, and we offer them on all campuses. So we have training availability for everyone. And what we found was that they said that the training, I thought this was kind of interesting. They said, if you look at the bottom, did you attend one of the training sessions? Only 36% did, but 96% thought that there were enough trainings. So they didn't go, but they thought there was enough.
Were they online as well? Could they have?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, our training modules, they can access online.
Okay.
Yeah. And we send out the links to those. Every time we remind them there's a training, the link for that, for those training modules is in the email. So if they can't make it, we tell them this is where you can go.
So the other 60% did it online.
That's right. Okay, now the other way we analyze program review is we do what we call an audit. And the audit is performed by the committee members, and we look at program reviews to see whether or not they include what we think they ought to have. There's a audit rubric, which is included in the manual, so everybody has access to it, and then we use that rubric as we go through and look at the program reviews. This year was a bit different. Normally, we do 15 random. This year, we had a much fuller committee, so we decided to do all of them. So we audited all 101 units. We all got assigned about 10, 15 of them to do, and had really good results. So in our audit, 97% agreed that the units clearly stated their outcomes. That's an improvement from 81 to 97. It's noted that the strengths of the unit contributed to institutional effectiveness. That also increased from 83 to 91%. 79% of the audit agreed that the units did actually use data within their program review. And 76 agreed that the units used the data to support their conclusions as well as their plans. Also, that's a huge increase. That went from 41% to 76%. That was a huge increase. There's a couple things that could be going on here. It could be that our training is really starting to pay dividends, and this is a result of the training. It could also be the fact that we have greatly increased the number we audited. We've increased the N. So it just could be that because we thought we were doing random, it wasn't really a random sampling of the units. We're going to be changing our audit process. That's why we decided to, for the last time through on our audit, we're going to do an audit. We're just going to change some of the questions that we would do everybody, just to have a starting point. So what are we going to try and do for next year? We want to create a new training module on how to use the data effectively, and especially the disaggregated data. We want to show people examples of how they can use that data to help improve their program. As a part of the website redesign, we're going to try and move everything to the web page for IPRC. Right now, the program review archives are under the Office of Research Planning and Institutional Effectiveness. It's not intuitive that program reviews would be there. It'd be better if they were under program review. So we're going to have them moved. We're going to have all of our training modules accessed through the web page, as well as our training manual and the links to Tableau. So if they can't get into their program review because they can't log into TrackDat, they can get to Tableau through here. And this way, right now, the people who can log into the program review module are those people who are authorized for that unit, not everybody in the unit. This will allow everybody in the unit to access the same data. Right now, if they're not accessed, they have to print it out, give it to their colleagues who look at it. That way they could just say, go to the program review, look at that data, and then we'll talk. We're in the process of developing a poster session highlighting a strong program review sections. That's one thing we get asked a lot. Well, what's a good one look like? And so we're not going to show a whole program review, but little sections of different program reviews. As I mentioned, we're going to be modifying the audit instrument, and we're going to start to really push equity as something that everybody should be looking at within their program review. Any questions?
Well, does the board get any, is there any, I don't want to ask for detailed data or anything like that, but is there some sort of report that we could look at that would show us what this looks like? Or is it all too
You mean a
detailed?
program review
Yeah.
or the Tableau?
The program review.
Yeah, all the program reviews are up on the website. If you go to the Office of, I always say ARPA, Research, Planning, and Institutional
website,
Effectiveness,
okay.
on their webpage, there's a link to say program reviews, and all of them, ever since we started with TrackDat, are up there. So you can
Okay,
call up
got it.
whichever year you'd like to look
Okay.
at, and then pick whatever department.
Okay.
And they're all there, including the ones for student services and admin services.
Got it.
And when will that be, because you're right, I never would have gone and looked.
Right.
When
No.
will that change to,
I think we're hoping by the end of this semester to have that ready.
Okay.
Well, we'll have the new page up this semester, this spring semester, because we'll use the new page for all of our trainings in the fall. So the spring will pilot the new page, and then we'll use it for the fall trainings. But the new program reviews will be up after October 15th. So the ones that are up there now are from last year that are reflected in this PowerPoint, and the new ones will be up after October 15th.
Okay, thank you.
So in my mind, this is a new guy. Simplistically, it seems like program review equals looking at what I did from a data standpoint, from an outcome standpoint. Is that a fair
Yes.
reflection of it? Okay,
Right, and the idea is that you analyze how you're doing,
right, absolutely.
and then how do I get to where I want to go?
And this is a new series of questions this year.
No, we
No.
just modified the prompts a little bit because there was some confusion the way the TrackDat system works. So some of the prompts we changed
Sure.
a little bit, and we kind of tweak it every year. There are some limitations of what we can and can't change.
Yeah.
And some of the things we'd like to change, we can't.
Okay. I guess where my mind's going is being a little bit troubled that only 36% of the folks went to the training. Do you have any thought on that?
Well, part of it is that for a lot of units, the same person has been their data entry person.
Okay.
So they don't necessarily
They don't
need
need
to. Also, they have access to the manual, and the manual is actually uploaded into their TrackDat module, so they don't even have to go find it. It's right there in their documents. So they can also just open that up and look at it. And also, we do a lot of one-on-one, where people call up, I don't understand, and Jonna goes to help them mostly because I'm in class. And so they don't go to a training, they call up and have specific questions that we try and answer.
And do they have to upload their data, or
Nope.
is it manual?
It's
or-
already done.
It's done.
The Office of Research, Planning, and
Dolly.
Institutional Effectiveness. We gotta shorten that name.
Dolly.
Research Office.
Dolly's
Yeah, they
office.
upload it all. So all they have to do is go in, and their previous program review's in there. They just go in and they can either delete it or just edit it, change the numbers that are now changed. It depends on how they do it.
was the data that was in Tableau, was that automatically,
Merged?
yeah, come from, you didn't have to sit there and,
Tableau is new. We've been piloting Tableau for about 18 months. Traditionally, we generate all the program with standard data and upload and track that in a PDF format. So we did that again this year. In addition to that PDF file, we put a hyperlink to Tableau if people wanted to explore more.
Right, so-
Tableau is
I think he
separate.
answered my question.
No, we're not techies. I don't know what that means,
So I
but
think what he's
okay.
asking you, Dolly, is do your people have to literally upload every piece of data into Tableau?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, they do.
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, we extract from our database and then build Tableau dashboards.
So it's a huge benefit.
Okay, we won't ask Dolly any more, we won't ask Dolly any more questions.
I bet he's got a slide.
We don't manually go piece of data for piece of data.
They just have to merge it.
From our-
But they have to move it.
That's kind of what
They have to say to go over there, right?
Yes.
All right, well, very, very good information, and it sounds like things are going well, and we're pleased about that, for sure. All right, thank you, Dr. Trumbull, for, nice to see
Thank
you
you,
again.
Thea.
Yeah, thank you, great presentation.
All right, we are moving on to our next report, and that is President Calvin, I believe, is...
Yes, I
gonna-
am sharing information about the above base resource allocations for 18-19. You'll recall that this is an annual process that we go through. Actually, much, if not all, of these requests are pulled from program review, how to strengthen your program. And as part of our budget building process, we allocate a budget amount. In this case, this year is $300,000 for above base requests. And all four areas, the academic services, administrative services, student services, and the president's office prioritize the various requests that came out of program review. Again, this year we had $300,000 to allocated for this process. The process was aided in the fact that this past fall there was $800,000 allocated for just instructional equipment. So normally we would have instructional equipment requests competing with those for non-instructional technology and facilities. This time, because we had spent $800,000 or allocated it and spent it in the fall on instructional equipment, the other three areas didn't have that competition for this $300,000. So when it was all said and done, we came up with 12 requests that we have recommended and allocated funds for, ranging from a new patrol car for our district police to a new van for facilities. We've upgraded for our research department, the Tableau piece that we just talked about, that was $50,000. Several different remodels, as well as a handful of non-instructional equipment needs, 9, 10, and 11. For a total of $341,000, we had to find $41,000, but you see there was justification for going over the budgeted amount, and we did have the $41,000. Down items 13 through 32.
Give it back.
Items 13 through 32 totaled over $500,000, and they were prioritized, but they fell below our current level of funding. We don't anticipate those being funded, but we like to prioritize past, just in case we were to end up with a big pot of one-time dollars from the state in the area of equipment. We could go back and consult without pulling all the troops back together and reprioritizing. So, but at this point, we don't anticipate going further than item number 12. This list has been approved at District Governance Senate. This is not one that requires board approval. We just like to share it with the board just so they can see the kind of health and ongoing usefulness of our processes. But we'd be happy to answer any questions for them.
Doesn't the foundation get involved in some of this too?
Well, thank you, Greg, for pointing that out. What happens is these requests all go through program review, and kind of the first funding opportunity for them is through this process, the above base budget. But everything that wasn't funded through our district process gets forwarded to the foundation, along with other requests that come to the foundation. And so these areas get another bite at the apple, if you will. And there have been examples where a foundation has funded something that the district didn't prioritize high enough. So thank you.
I think Mr. Foster said he was gonna fund them all.
Well, we only have $120,000 this year to allocate, and I have more than double that, quite close to triple that.
Right.
And requests directly to the foundation that's above and beyond this list. So we've got a lot of choices to spend that $120K.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
One more goal.
All right, questions, comments for President Calvin? All right, looks like a good list, and there'll be more to come next year, I'm sure. All right. So we will move on to our consent calendar today. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any person in the audience and considered as a separate item, as a separate agenda item. So with that, do we have any items on the consent calendar that need to be pulled? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of consent calendar, items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, we are down to action items today. And first up is Dr. Lacerna with our curriculum, monthly curriculum report.
Hello, thank you.
I believe that's monthly.
Yes, it's monthly. Okay, so, and everyone's rushing to try to get their stuff in before the catalog is published in a few weeks, so we get big reports this week. So we have 2 new courses on page 1, and again, just to remind everyone before I start, is that these are all of these courses and programs have been through the governance process. They've been through 10+1 with Academic Senate, faculty, departments, divisions, the curriculum committee, and then on to the board. So these are what were approved at the last Academic Senate meeting. And this first one is a new course, ESL 400. Basically, this is a course to help offer tutorial support for our ESL students, and will be held in our language lab. The second one is the support for statistics and social science. This is part of AB 705, similar to the courses that were developed for math and English. There is a math course in statistics in our social science department, so this would be a similar support course required through compliance for AB 705. So those are our 2 new courses. All of the rest are here, or on this page, are here for 5-year review. In art, just updates on outcomes and course descriptions. On page 2, we have also courses that are here for 5-year or 2-year review in business, child development, counseling, dance, and music. And again, mostly course descriptions, outcomes, and you'll notice a lot of them are removing advisories or prerequisites, and that is due to AB 705 changes for placement as well. On page 3, we have course modifications. Again, music, physical education, political science, sports medicine, and welding. And these are some moving the prerequisite, some changes in units in the sports med, and then a total hours for welding was modified. The next section is for deletion, and these are courses that are no longer being offered, and that would be in the child class, child development, culinary, English 251 and 360 are no longer going to be offered because of AB 705, excuse me. Paralegal And those are the deletions. Page 5 is a new program, Associate of Science in Fashion Merchandising and Design, and that is we've redone the entire fashion merchandising program. The faculty spent a whole year working on that, and it really did some positive changes there. And then we have program modifications, mostly 2-year reviews. So these are just updating that's required to come forward every 2 years on these, updating descriptions and course outcomes and a few things like that. This is a big one, like I said. Page 6 is also program modifications. As you see, these are all 2-year reviews. So by requirement, by the law, that career technical education has to come forward every 2 years just to make sure that they still meet labor market demand and there's still needs for these programs and that they're up to date. So those are all architecture, and drafting and architectural history. And same on the next page, 2-year review in mostly our architecture program. And then we have 3 program deletions. The fashion, all 3 of them are in fashion, and those were replaced by that degree we just approved that was on the new list. Okay, now you have a report that looks very different than what we normally see. There's 2 pages of that. And so again, I spoke with you a few months ago at AB 705, which is the new requirement for students to be placed directly into transfer level math and English. As a result of that, we just deleted 2 courses, English 251 and English 360. So our lower level math and English courses will no longer be offered because students will now be going into the directly into those transfer level courses. All of the courses that you see here had a prerequisite for either the pre-transfer level English or the pre-transfer level math courses, which now no longer exist. So we will be offering some of the Math 230, which is our college algebra course, and that will that we will still be offering. But all of these courses had some type of an advisory or a prerequisite for those classes that no longer exist. So we took all of those as a bunch to the curriculum committee. This came through the faculty, to the department, to the division, to the curriculum committee, to the academic senate. Rather than bringing each course forward separately, we are doing them as a slate approval to remove those advisories from all of those courses. So it's recommended that the board approve that, and again, in many of these, you are the final approvers, and we just submit the information to the chancellor's office. In some of these, like the new programs, those do go to the chancellor's office for approval still. So we are recommending that you approve this.
So for these business classes, these, the
on the long list, Lori?
communication classes, yeah. So what you're saying now is they don't need any prerequisites to go to those classes. Are the teachers, do they think that's going to affect, that's taken out a big prerequisite.
Yeah, and
there.
these were all, if you can see, we're in the 4th column, these were advisories, except for like English 1 had a prerequisite. So all of these were advisories. So it was
I see.
for in business.
Yep, okay.
Yeah,
Yep,
so
yep,
in
yep.
Ag 107, it was an advisory
Yep.
that you have English 251
But not
before you
required to
come
get
in.
in.
But
Okay.
not required to get in. They're updating their advisory to English 1 in that case because they
Okay.
believe students should have English
Yep,
1.
yep, yep.
These were all advisories. I think
Okay.
the only one that was actually a prerequisite was that English 1.
Got it, okay.
So lots of advisory. There are others that had it as a prereq, and those have been coming. There were like 3 or 4 on
Yes.
here that were in the separate part that were prereqs. So,
Okay.
and yes, we are all interested to see how it plays out, but we also at the same time are putting in the supports that we need for our students
it
to be
work.
successful.
That's the goal, okay?
I move we approve the curriculum report.
Second.
Motion and a second for the approval of the monthly curriculum report. Are there any further questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And if I could just add one thing, I know that Tracy Redden mentioned this earlier, but I really have to just thank the math department, the English department, our curriculum committee, the academic senate, and Sarah Harris, our curriculum chair for they have put in hours and hours and hours of work to get all of this done and get us up to speed for what is coming in the fall. And they've been fabulous. So just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lucerna. Item 9 is board policies, first read. Mr. Calvin.
We have 2 first reads tonight. The first on Board Policy 6700, recommended updates to the Civic Center and other facilities use board policy. Most of these recommendations, at least the lower 2/3, came from our league advisors, the CCLC, and then the top part was on a recommendation to specifically list out the facilities that would fall under this policy, so we've done that as well.
Where it talks about the superintendent president establishing reasonable rules and regulations, is that a written document that if Joe walked in off the street, he would know whether or not he fell within the allowable uses, or how do you know that? Or is that to your discretion?
Yeah, Christine, help me. Do you think that that is referring to how we use a facility, or what we provide in terms of PowerPoint presentations, microphones, speakers, that sort of thing?
Which exact sentence?
It's the one area that's not bolded in paragraph 1. Use of the Civic Center shall be granted as provided by law,
Yeah.
but that all establish reasonable rules and regulations regarding the use of the district's property. My feeling is it's just the facilities, the nuances associated with renting our facility, kind of what it comes with and what it doesn't.
Civic center law is pretty broad, and almost anyone can rent, but it doesn't have to be every single building. So I think that's why the CCLC guidance said that he shall be granted as provided by law to cover those other nuances.
It's easier.
The administrative procedure is also fairly extensive in explaining.
I was going to say, that's where the details are.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, thank you.
And the fee, this doesn't refer to fees, does it? And that's covered, we have some sort of,
Fee
whether it's not a
schedule.
fee schedule,
Yeah.
is that right?
We do.
Okay. Are we, let's just act on them both together,
Okay.
if that's okay?
The BP on parking was just reviewed and updated in accordance with our normal schedule. No changes were made. The administrative procedure would have more detail, but the board policy is pretty straightforward.
Okay, so there's no changes on that one. All right.
I move to waive the first reading and move on to second read for Board Policy 6700 and 6750.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of pass on first read, move to second read of board policies 6700 and 6750. So, okay, so we have, are there any all right, are there any further comments or questions on that? I'll get it out sooner or later. If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, so item 10 is, item 10.
College Promise.
Sequoia's College Promise reimbursement program, and Ms. Staton is going to bring this forward.
Yes. You'll recall that last year at this time, we were presenting a pilot program, and what this does is take our pilot program and turn it into an ongoing program for our district. Things have been fleshed out much further at the state level. In addition, additional funding has come forward. Before I delve too deeply into this, I want to thank David Levrin, who's our Director of Financial Aid, that's done a lot of the research. And the reason we're coming to you tonight, it may be a month or two ahead of what other districts are doing, but it's so that we can go out and really market this to our potential students.
And so I'll get into the details. The pilot program was for 18-19, and that, what we approved was for a first-time student, first year, first time, and it would cover tuition. And what the governor, our new governor, wants to propose is 2 years of free college. So, and sidebar, we've discussed a few funding concerns that have come our way from the Chancellor's office this week. Both the Chancellor's office and the Department of Finance have made it very clear that these are top priorities for these funds. So there's not a lot of fear that these funds will not be made available, but even if they weren't for some reason, in here we are asking for you to approve for as long as the state funding continues, and also know that with our carryover from our first year, we would have a full $700,000 next year, even if they didn't increase the funding for just next year at least. But I'll get into the details here. So for us here at Sequoia's College Promise Reimbursement Program, it's unique to our local program. We are requesting full implementation. It would be for first and second year college students who also need to complete the FAFSA as required previously. We extended the due date for those FAFSAs in fall and spring to October and March respectively. They would have to enroll in and complete with a passing grade 12 units. And we will also clarify that's a minimum of 12 units, because I did have some discussion with our president. What if they take 15 or 16 and don't pass some of those? We tried to make it fairly clear in here, although we didn't say that word for word, that it's a minimum of 12, and units beyond 12 in the same semester will also be reimbursed with passing grades. But our prior year was 15 units. So we had some good success with that, but we anticipate much better success with this. It would apply to the first 4 consecutive semesters. So students wouldn't be leaving for a couple years or even a larger gap and come back and want their second year free. Summer sessions are not included, as was the case with our pilot, because it's a little difficult to track the payment and clear the grades and get on to the next semester for that. Their account would be credited for tuition previously paid approximately 6 weeks after grades are posted. And so this is not money up front to take those 15 units. It is 12 units, I should say, or more. It is really a reimbursement program. And our board has in the past shared a desire, as does our senior administration really, that the students do have a little skin in the game. They do have to apply themselves. It's not just a free program, and it's not free without putting some effort into it for the results. So again, in order to advertise, we're requesting it here in March. And just so you know what happened last year with our 15 or more units, first semester cost was $65,200, and that covered 84 students. Sounds really small, but just remember the majority of our students are already on Pell or Board of Governors waivers, so these are those students that don't receive that financial aid. And it resulted in an estimated cost, if you projected that to a full year, of $125,000 for this pilot year. And again, that was based on 15 units with passing grades. So the state funding, which was $400,000, it was actually over $400,000 for this current year, 18-19, is projected to be over $800,000 for next year. And so obviously we can expand this program quite a bit from $100,000 up. And that's anticipated to be ongoing annually. Looking at the cost, what we do when we projected, we looked at the students that took 12 units and passed this last fall. The cost would have been $137,000. I think I'm reading my notes a little bit wrong. Yeah, approximate cost $137,000 for just first semester. So you can see that more than doubles what we've had. Annual would be about $270,000. That would cover approximately 400 students. And if you then are doing 2 years at the same time, which by next year we could be doing 2 years, we're saying maybe when fully implemented about $540,000. So as such, we're actually asking the board to approve these funds somewhere between $550,000 on up to $700,000 a year, again, as long as state funding continues. But in addition, since there may be more funding that isn't spent, we're asking the board, as they approve this, to allow district administration
to possibly look at further other costs to implement. One might be some part-time staff to help us implement this program. There's a lot of tracking, there's a lot of data, and making sure the students receive the benefits of this program. And we're just gearing up, but if we double it, we may need that. That's a possibility, not definite. And another would be, if there's extra funds, maybe we could start to look at reimbursing books and fees. And that might be for our neediest students.
So Christine, so the state will give you the full allocation? You don't have to say we only spent this much?
Correct. Yeah.
It's not a dollar for dollar. They give you the amount, and even if you don't use it all.
Yep.
So they're basing their number on?
They did a statewide calculation, and they created their averages per district, probably based on your enrollment.
But not on your FAFSA stuff? That just seems odd that they would give us an amount
that's so much
different than what we actually spent.
Well, other districts were doing 12 units and not 15 last year.
Okay.
Other districts may have not been doing a reimbursement. They're
Okay.
just saying, come, we're covering it. So I think we were very conservative in how we implemented, especially last year, expanding. But again, the reimbursement basis is quite a bit
Yes.
different because they have to pass. So it's a lot different than what the state is proposing. Just come and we'll pay for it.
Yes, but I'm
Yeah.
surprised the state would give us the money if we have stricter rules and didn't spend it.
Uh,
That just doesn't
it's a
seem like how
categorical-
they do things.
You're right. It's a categorical program. It's a restricted, so we can't spend it in the unrestricted general fund. We are receiving the funds. They are sitting there. There
And they-
are requirements to receive it, but all it is, there were some steps to align our program with, I'm trying to remember the exact steps. We had to enroll in the Guided Pathways program.
Okay.
And we have to have a joint program with some of our all of our feeder high schools. There are about 5 things, but we could easily check those off because we do them already.
Yep, okay.
Plus joining the State Guided Pathways program, which we did enroll in.
Got it.
So it's such a big emphasis by our chancellor that it does
Yeah.
seem odd, but this was really, they're probably.
But the money is categorical, so it has to only be spent on paying for tuition for kids
Absolutely.
to go to college.
Mhm.
So it
Well-
stays in that
Or
account.
or
Or
associated things like,
books or.
it could be
Got it.
books and different things like that. So if we had $400,000 this year, if we spend $125,000, that $275,000 will roll over as essentially a one-time sort of reserve for this program. Theoretically, although we haven't gotten through the budget process yet, but that $400,000 that we received this year would be the same next year, plus an added component for the second year. So we really think our ongoing budget will be about $700,000. And after this year, we'll have also banked a little reserve of about $250,000, $275,000.
That you could use for other things. Okay,
Yeah.
got it, understood.
And I should clarify, for those that have followed this program, it was very, from the state standpoint, when the expenditure guidelines first came out, and again for this next year, they're not even saying you have to fund tuition. They're stretching it probably to some outreach programs. Basically, it was very broad, and I apologize, I don't have that legislation language in here, but it was AB 19 back in October 2017 that you could pull up and read. Very broad, and they haven't refined it or narrowed it.
Okay.
And when I mentioned some districts are doing it for all students, other districts aren't doing anything yet. They're using it for more broad program improvement and student success and things of that nature.
Okay.
So
our thought was to continue refining it. I mean, from this year to the next year, we've gone from 15 to 12 and some other things. Find that sweet spot kind of on an ongoing basis to help that 30% of our students that don't get the former Board of Governors waiver.
Yes.
Now it's the state promise. And then once we find that sweet spot and we're satisfied with it, and maybe it's with this after next year, we'll see how much that on an ongoing basis we have in surplus, and rather than just adding that to this reserve that we're developing this year, maybe then we'll start looking at some books for our needier students or other things that we can add on
Got it.
top
Yep.
of
Just free tuition.
and it may be a different population than the 30%.
Yes.
That's
That are
because
getting-
this 30% are only the 30% that don't qualify for the state promise.
Yep,
So,
So it could be books for our Board of Governors waiver
Yes,
students or
understood.
something like that. I didn't look at Jessica. She might remember. Jessica's been very helpful with this as well, being Vice President of Student Services. Do you remember any of the broad strokes of?
It's just, you accurately summarized it. It's
Okay.
very broad, and when you go to kind of our statewide meetings, they're using it in very different ways. Some start paying in a summer session before the students get there. Some use a reimbursement program like we do. I think extending it to the second year is a great perk that we have over some of our neighboring schools as well. But I would like to see it if we can kind of stabilize into book vouchers and that kind of things for the students. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So the report says it's not to be used for books. So do we have the latitude if we want to use it for books that we
Yeah,
can?
I'm hoping so. Basically, when the report said that, those bullets are our proposal that we're sending forth right now.
Okay.
And you can see the flyer that we'll actually use with students attached. But having said that, in the summary paragraph and also in the recommended action, we're asking for permission, should we have extra funds, to possibly implement use of any unspent funds to cover costs of program staff or fees and/or books for the students with the greatest financial need.
Right. Would that include also the summer session then that we precluded?
Our plan right now is not for summer session.
Okay.
And there were a lot of logistical reasons why we excluded that.
Mhm.
I'm sure that we could
Costly and all that.
come back and revisit.
Is our set of requirements, I know it doesn't mirror the states, but it's more strict in each case where there's a difference, right?
Yeah, and again, the state didn't lay down clear requirements.
Okay.
They literally said, first time, first year student, free college for first time, first year. You go ahead and decide how you're going to implement that. And now they're saying first and second year, but then the guidance actually doesn't even say that it has to be free college. It can be all of these support services, that you support. It really differs district by district, doesn't it?
so yes, if you compared the state promise with our local promise in a side by side, I think our requirements would be the same or stricter than the state's.
Just so that we don't get to a certain point and go, oh,
Correct. And because initially we were talking about, well, we have the money, should we, for this 30% population, should we have the money for it? Should we just toss on books or other benefits to that group? And then we thought, well, that's at the exclusion of our neediest population. And we
Read
also
the
don't
books
want
more.
to create a competition between the state promise and the local promise to where students are trying to opt out of the state promise and jump over on the local promise.
So they can get books.
Yeah,
that'd
because
be
the
a
local
mess.
promise is, it's a finite amount that
Yep.
if that were to happen, if that phenomenon were to happen,
Yes.
and those floodgates were to open, we'd be out of that local money pretty quick.
And with social media, kids would figure that out fast.
So your caveat was as long as the state funds,
Yeah,
are
as-
there, do we notice the students in advance to say this is contingent upon the receipt of state funds to cover that?
So right now, we would not be noticing them because we are comfortable that with our carryover from 18-19, and even if we only receive half our funding for 19-20, we would have enough to cover next year. Then we would have to notice students next spring for the following year.
We kind of feel like we have to go out on a limb, sort of spring by spring. Like this time last year, it wasn't formalized at all. They were still kicking it around, but we knew we had to go to the high schools, and so that's part of why we went as conservative as we did with the 15 units, knowing that it probably wouldn't be over a couple $100,000. And this board, we explained it, and the board just said, hey, if everything goes to heck in a handbasket, we don't have any money to fund this, at least, it's $125,000 or something like that. We're kind of doing the same thing again next year with, we're carrying forward $275,000 in a reserve. If something blew up this spring and we didn't get any new funding, or we only got what we got this year, we'd have enough to make good on what we're advertising this spring to high school seniors coming next year. And it would just be next spring, we'd kind of circle the wagons and maybe change something for the 2021 year.
I have well, first I want to mention I'm in favor of the recommendation, but I had a question and a comment. By the marketing material, it states that anyone can submit a DREAM Act application, but those that would apply for a DREAM Act application, this probably wouldn't be their program. They'd be applying for maybe a different program. Is that correct?
Well, in order to qualify for this, under AB 19, the state legislation, students can't get these funds unless they have either submitted a FAFSA or a DREAM Act. So it would just be those very few students that, let's say, applied, submitted the FAFSA or submitted the DREAM Act, but they actually have more funds available. So a DREAM Act student whose parents maybe make good money. I don't know if we have those instances.
The parent income is high. I also, one of our biggest challenges and frustrations with DREAM Act students is the March 2nd deadline. There is no competitive allowance for that, so a student who completes a DREAM Act after March 2nd is just automatically disqualified. So we may have DREAM Act students or DREAM Act eligible students that didn't get it done by the March 2nd. So they would not be eligible for the financial aid fee waiver. Then this would be like a default for something to help them navigate this.
It's a safety net for the dreamers, right? Yeah.
Okay. And then my comment was that from the estimates that you have, and again, I support what we're sharing today. If it were set up to be where if they take 12 units and given, for example, they make some qualification that they have over a 2.0, if they were to be taking 3 classes and they get 2 A's and get a D and 1, that they would get reimbursed for 2 of the classes, it wouldn't cost the district more money. Is that correct?
We're actually saying that you have to take and pass with a C or better.
Correct, but I'm saying if we were to change it to make it where they take 12 units, but they get a D in one class, and we decide only to reimburse 8 units of it or 9 units of it, that it wouldn't cost the district more money to support that type of a program.
I think that's a fair statement. The reason we veered away from that is the whole push for success and completion that's coming from the Vision for Success from the Chancellor's Office is giving that impetus to do everything they can to pass, I guess, yeah. So.
And I just take into consideration that now that we've moved to Math 1 and English 1, that they're a little bit tougher classes, so I just wanted to keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah. This can always be revisited a year down the road or whenever we deem necessary, so good points.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the Sequoias College Promise Reimbursement Program. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And next up is Mr. Bratch with our public hearings.
At our last board meeting, the district and Costa sunshined our collective bargaining proposals, and for the last month, those proposals have been available for public review in the Office of Human Resources, as well as being available online to review. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to open up a public hearing to allow the public an opportunity to comment on either the district's or Costa's initial collective bargaining proposal.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bratch. So with that, I would open the public hearing regarding the district and Costa's initial collective bargaining proposals. Are there any comments? If none, the public hearing is closed.
Item number 12 is similar, except for it's with the sunshine proposal of the district and also the sunshine proposal of CSEA. So if we could have a public hearing to allow the members of the public an opportunity to comment on it.
Right, the public hearing regarding the district and CSEA's initial reopener collective bargaining proposals. Are there any public comments? If none, the hearing is closed.
Final one is a public hearing with the sunshine proposals of the district and CASAFA.
All right, so we will open a public hearing regarding the district and COSAFA's initial successor collective bargaining proposals. Are there any public comments? If not, the public hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. Bratch. And so that concludes our agenda. And before I adjourn, I just want to say that today is not only my wife's birthday, but my grandson's birthday, same day. And so they'll be pleased, or maybe not, that I'll be getting home before 6 o'clock. Is that right? So the meeting is adjourned.
The clock's not changed, yeah.
Hasn't been that fast.
It never,
That was a fast meeting.
it never is.